بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Monday, the 6th of February 2023, and in our series of broadcasts, Reflections in the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 390. And we are looking at the meanings of the words of verse 107 of chapter 2, Al-Baqarah of the Holy Quran. And this is the fourth broadcast in that series. These broadcasts are brought to you by LAISA, Lahore Ahmadiyya School of Education in Religion, which is a department of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishaat-e-Islam of Lahore. The Ahmadiyya movement was founded by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib of Qadian, and his teaching was that although other people say that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a prophet can come, but the Holy Quran says about the Holy Prophet Muhammad that he is Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained its meaning by saying, "Ana Khatamun Nabiyyin la Nabi abadi." I'm Khatamun Nabiyyin, and there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, whether it is an old prophet or a new prophet. And this worried the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who said that, Ya Rasulullah, when other people needed guidance or went astray, God sent prophets. If that has now come to an end, what will happen? And the Holy Prophet said, God will raise mujaddids, reformers. So Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib claimed to be a mujaddid as predicted by one of the many mujaddideen as predicted by the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He said his distinction was that other ahadith speak of the coming of a Messiah and Mahdi, but these are not two personalities, but reflect two aspects of a mujaddid's work. And he is that mujaddid, and these apply to him. He also taught that although other people say that Quran is not the first from among our sources of knowledge about religion, and he said, no, that is not true. First, it is the Quran, then it is the Sunnah or actions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and then it is Hadith or sayings of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then other things come after that. He also taught that although other people say that some prophetic revelation has been missed from the Holy Quran, or that some prophetic revelation that is in the Holy Quran is abrogated, is cancelled. But he said this is not true. All prophetic revelation is in the Holy Quran, and no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. So, and he said that jihad, as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, is our duty. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, when returning from fighting, said that Muslims are returning from Jihad Asghar, the minor jihad, to Jihad Akbar, the major jihad. And then went on to explain that the major jihad is Jihad bin Nafs, a struggle against the temptations of your own soul and your own desires. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that the Holy Prophet had said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another that you are a kafir, a heretic, then it is the person saying it who is the kafir or the heretic. So we should avoid saying these things about our brothers. Let God decide. He hasn't given us the authority, the right to judge people. So let us turn to the verse of the Holy Quran that we are going to look at today. As I said, Al-Baqarah, verse 107. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تعلم أن الله له ملك السماوات والأرض وما لكم من دون الله من ولي ولا نصير. Know you not that Allah's is the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and that besides Allah you have not any friend or helper. Today we are going to look at the words wal ard. In fact, it might have been useful to look at, I think I mentioned this last time, the whole expression, but there we are. As we saw last time, something that is high is called, comes from Samavad. But that is a relative statement. Something could be high with relation to one thing and low with relation to something else. Like the roof of this house. It's high compared to the floor of this house, but it's low compared to clouds or the sky and so on. So everything that is low is called ard or ardan. And boy is earth called earth? Because it is under your feet. It's lower than your feet. And we know that the earth is the source of income and prosperity, etc. How? If you're a farmer, you have a field, you plow the field, and you put fertilizer in it, and you put seed in it, and you cultivate the crop. The more crop you get, the more prosperous you are. If you're a shopkeeper, you need land on which to build your shop, and then put whatever it is that you want to sell. If you're a factory owner, again, you need land on which to build a factory. So all our prosperity, physical prosperity, comes from the ground. Now, there are other meanings of this word, because Ardhan is something that is lower than a person who's obedient to another person. The same word is used for that. A person who's ruled by someone, they'd be lower. But interestingly, the same thing applies to someone who's humble, because he lowers himself in front of some other person. And this sort of metaphorical use of words is very interesting in the Holy Quran. For example, the Holy Quran uses the word Jibalan. And for example, chapter 18, I think it is, and that is that he will destroy Jabal, and Ard will arise again. Now, in such places, say some commentators, that Jabal doesn't actually mean that Jabal is metaphoric and used metaphorically, and it means the topmost people, the leaders. And why? Because those leaders, we've seen this recently, haven't we? Whether it is abrogating COVID virus rules, whether it is paying income tax, whether it is the treatment of people, how those who think they're higher than others just flout the law. They bully their staff. As I said, they don't pay the income tax that is due to them because they think, because of their position, they're somehow exempt from this. And God says that, such people I will destroy, and I will bring up the earth, or what is low. And that is, I will give power to ordinary, normal people, because those who lead them have misused their power and control over things. So, but expression used here, we have Ard and Samawat, that God has control over both of them. And about the earth, about the life of this earth, God says that what does He do? He has put the means of sustenance for us in the ground. And we have just commented on that. Whether you're the farmer or the shopkeeper or whatever, these things come from the ground. But then, if you think about it, these things come from the ground for all animals. Grass comes from the ground for the cow and the horse and so on. And they live off it. Now, the question is this: what is then the difference between those animals and us? God has also given us the earth for our sustenance, for our living. It's done the same for them. And the difference is that the only purpose of an animal's life is this world. Keeping alive, procreating, and then dying. And that's the end of the thing. But God has given human beings another quality. That is to strive not just for things of this world, but moral and spiritual qualities as well. The Holy Quran says that, the law that we revealed, its purpose was to elevate human beings. But what do human beings prefer? To cling to the ground. And what does clinging to the ground mean? That you use any means at your disposal to get personal benefit. This is why in other places the Holy Quran says, bear true witness even if it's against your relatives, your near and dear ones, your parents and your children. Always speak the truth. Because if you don't, then obviously you're clinging to earth. You're clinging to a lower purpose and objective. Whatever it is, to get some benefit for your father or to make sure your son is not fined for something. But God says by putting these things to you, we actually wanted to elevate you, make you great. But if you just follow elsewhere it says your, vain desires, then that's what it will be. You will never spiritually and morally elevate your souls, yourselves, to a high level. So what you should do is, in your life, you should live, particularly where economics is concerned, in accordance with God's rules and God's laws, and not for benefits and advantages of this life. And there is another aspect in this, and that was, the purpose of man's creation was described right at the very beginning, at the time of creation, when God said that I'm putting in Adam the ability to actually decide what is right, what is wrong. The two things will be in front of him. But let's go back to the example of the horse. A horse doesn't eat meat. He'll only eat grass. A cow will only eat grass. It doesn't matter what expensive steak or whatever you put in front of them, they'll smell it and leave it. They cannot violate God's law in that they will only eat grass. That's how they were created. But man can choose. He can choose to eat vegetables or fruits or meat or whatever. They don't have that choice. And that is that choice, the ability of being able to decide is what makes us different. It makes us different. And that choice is also whether we are going to rely and cling to this earth or we are going to strive for a higher moral purpose, a higher spiritual purpose. Another aspect of this is, of course, that God says elsewhere, I have put in this earth all the means of sustenance for you and your animals. So what are those things that we need? It's clean air, it's clean water, it's land. Now the question some people ask is this. The question some people ask is this, that no one owns light, light from the sun. It comes, I can't bottle it and start selling it. No one can own air. No one owns water. I know what you're going to say, that drinking water, yes, it's taken and it's sterilized and so on and so forth, and then comes out of the tap. But you don't have to use that. You can just go down to the local river and put a bucket in and get a bucket full of water. We use these taps and this water simply because it's more convenient for us. Now, the question is that, when all these things, like light and air and water and so on, God created for everyone, and they cannot be bought, they cannot be owned by an individual or a company and so on, why is it that land should be allowed to be owned by individuals or companies? Land also has under it gas and oil and coal and gold and diamonds and whatever else. Why should Mr. X be able to control my access to those things? Shouldn't it be the same as it is for air and light? And this argument has been going on since the time of early Islam. One companion of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, in today's terms, you would say his economic ideas were socialist or communist. He did not believe that people should be able to own land. In fact, he said that if people wanted to own a house, they should only be allowed to own one house, because owning more than one house creates a shortage of accommodation for others. So sometimes, we have these discussions and we think we are very clever and we've invented all these ideas and discussions and so on. The bad news is no. Certainly, as far as Islam is concerned, they've been going on for 1500 years. But the main point of today's broadcast was that, this Samawat and Earth, one, there is a physical element, which is obvious. But there's also a spiritual message in these things for us. I mean, for example, when God says, I sent down, I've mentioned this example previously, that I've sent down clothing from heaven, ready-made. Heavens is not a huge Marks and Spencers, where you go in and you find all manner of clothings, undergarments and overgarments and overcoats and in different colors and sizes and shapes and so on. What it means is that God has given us the knowledge of how to cover ourselves. So, as I said, there are two aspects to these things. And here, when God says that I have sovereignty over heavens and earth, that includes everything. It means that God is the sovereign over this physical life and the next spiritual life as well. And these verses, we should think about their interpretation, not just literally and physically, but also morally and spiritually as well. But people compete with each other, just with, things to show off. They don't compete with each other in piety and goodness. The companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, they competed with each other. But the things we compete in is, my son got married and I invited 500 people, and the neighbor thinks, yeah, he invited 500 and my son's getting married, I'm going to invite 800. He's got one car, I want two. And so on. How expensive they are and so on. It's like on television, you see people with Rolex watches and all this kind of thing. You just need it to tell the time. What extra do you gain, apart from the fact that people standing around say, oh, you got a Rolex? What extra information do you get from that? And there is the example of the companions of the Holy Prophet that I've repeated so many times. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made an appeal for funds, and Hazrat Usman came and the Holy Prophet said, what have you brought? How much have you brought? And Hazrat Usman Razillah Ta'ala said, well, a quarter of everything that God has given me. The Holy Prophet said, well, excellent, that's really good, you've done well. And then came Hazrat Umar, and Hazrat Umar was determined to outdo Hazrat Abu Bakr Razillah Ta'ala, whose sacrifice was always greater than everyone else's. And the Holy Prophet asked Umar, what have you brought? And Hazrat Umar said, well, half of all my possessions and half I've left behind for my family. And the Holy Prophet said, Umar, you have done really well. This is excellent. And then Hazrat Abu Bakr came, and the Holy Prophet asked, how much have you brought? And Hazrat Abu Bakr said, well, does anyone need anything more than the name of Allah and his Prophet in this life to survive? So I brought everything. So you see, the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad competed in making sacrifices. Who was going to be the more righteous? Who was going to be the more pious? Not in who's got the most expensive mobile phone or car or whatever else that there is. So generally people take this samawat and earth to mean up and down, heavens and earth, skies and heavens and earth and so on. Yes, literally. But if you think about it, there's much more guidance in these two words. In fact, in every single word of the Holy Quran, but in these two words that we're looking at now, than meets the eye. This is all for today, but before I leave, I want to, I'm sure you've seen it on the news, but I want to draw your attention to the fact of this earthquake in Turkey and Syria. There are some reports that 5,000 people have died. So please pray for them, but try and do more than just pray for them. Sacrifice, make a sacrifice, donate some money, buy some blankets and donate them, donate some tents, or donate towards the cost of a tent. And everything else these poor people are going to need. It's bitterly cold in Turkey at this time. And these people have no shelter, no food, no medication. So when you climb into your nice warm bed, think about them as well. Shivering in pain, in the cold, and praying to Allah for someone to help them. Are you going to be the source of the help that Allah provides them? Let's hope so. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.